Tyson, a legendary figure in boxing known for his insightful commentary and deep understanding of the sport, reacted to the fight's outcome with keen observation and respect for both fighters. Known for his no-nonsense approach and intimate knowledge of the dynamics of heavyweight boxing, Tyson's reaction to the Joshua Ngannou fight provided fans with valuable insights into the significance of the match and its outcome. Mike Tyson, though not directly involved in Francis's second boxing match, offered his perspective on the outcome. He described it as an exhilarating fight, emphasizing that boxing entails much more than mere punches. Tyson praised Joshua's performance, suggesting that it marks a step forward for him. He also expressed confidence in Francis's future comeback. Tyson reiterated these points during an interview where he emphasized the multifaceted aspects of boxing beyond sheer force. The irony of the situation was vividly illustrated during the knockout chaos, where the man hailed as the world's heaviest puncher since 2018, when he set the world record, was knocked out cold in the ring.
Wow is what you got to say when we talk about the impact of the Ngannou situation. But as I trickle this thing to the next layer, is one thing that people don't realize is that he just spoke of was Mike Tyson not being in this camp. And so the avid and direct impact that Francis Ngannou experienced and benefited greatly for having such knowledge in his training camp. This would have been the outcome of the first fight if Mike Tyson would not have taken liberty to be in his camp, embedded in his camp, with both feet, both hands, his mouth, head, and 50 years of boxing knowledge and experience in his corner. And that was the difference. And when you don't have that, that's what's so important about this segment of the business of boxing, as we will get into that post conversation of what the impact of someone like Mike Tyson will have on your camp when you bring the right people in, and the type of people you need inside of your camp. Dana White, we're going to hear from Dana White. We're going to also hear about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fiasco, because something really surfaced its beautiful head during this buildup and what they're doing. And you're going to be shocked at what Jake Paul has thought of to do in this fight. So with that being said, before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. For those of you who have never watched my channel, this is so shame on you, and you are late to the dance. My name is Eric A. Bradley, coach, that is, and this is the business of boxing. And what we do here is make sure that you guys are fully informed on what goes on inside of this industry, from the beginning phases of it, meaning entry-level boxers, to the highest level of business in this sport, and the politics that go behind it. And a little bit of all of that will be in this episode. You can expect to be on board for 20 minutes of some very in-depth conversation. And we like to say thank you to our sponsor, Jab Juice Advisors, which take the game of combat to the next echelon by basically taking the confusion out of building up your personal brands and growing your business when you don't know how to market your own company, when you don't understand how to build up your personal brand and do this AI age of social media. Basically, they take the reins from you and direct your company and give you advice on how to go about that and the tools to actually implement with that, so that you can go from a tiny brand to a much larger brand using the same business model as these other big giants in the world of social media. Us alone experience a growth of approximately 50,000 brand new people every single month. And with that being said, it's all about learning it and passing it down. So that advice changes things. So with that being said, no further ado, the first advice that I'm going to give you guys, and it's something that I just recently learned on my own. I forgot to say, to ask questions, to inquire more, jabjuice.com. Now back to the topic at hand. When you have something that you are wanting to have and change in your life, here's what you got to remember in business, especially in this industry. Do not procrastinate. Because what's happened today is we've got conditioned to things that are one way. You go somewhere, you see a Snickers bar, you don't get it. You go to another store, it's the same price. See, in the age of AI, things are on such a progressive just slope that we are typically conditioned to procrastinate. So I was speaking to one of the individuals that are actually under our program, and our program is about business growth and building your own personal brand and learning the intricacies of really operating in today's world of AI and social media, and really how do you grow yourself. So this is crazy because I just was getting on someone today, and just a week ago, not even barely a week, maybe 4 days, 6 days, 6 days ago, I was saying, do not goof off and procrastinate. And when you get to a particular place in your business, champ, when you're in this industry, and this is the combat industry, boxing, and when you are dealing with it, gym owners, don't procrastinate, because I did it myself. I just a week ago, I was about to pull the trigger on a different software and the company that actually is going to back it. So I said, all right, let me go ahead and jump on this thing. And I said, something got in my way and I just didn't do it. And so this week I'm like thinking, I got to do it this, I got to do it this week. So lo and behold, I go to do it. And here's the deal. I'm going to play this for you. This is what I did today in the midst of this call. Hopefully you hear this. Check this out. You have to hold yourself accountable to implement what we are giving you, because you made a decision. You said, damn it, I'm saying this is what it costs. This is where you are at. This is what you need. You can leave your business like it is right now, or you can change it. That's on you. I'm not sweating anybody, because we are making the moves. We got to invest. I got to today when I get off my calls, I got to go invest again, because I got to level up an area. Boom. So guess what? I go level up. I go thinking I'm going to level up. I wanted to put it on the record that this was actually in real time. I go level up. I go to purchase the software. Not only did they cut the actual time span of what they were going to offer, they cut it into a fraction. I'm talking 1/3 what they offered to give you. So just say if you were going to get a Lexus, and when you get there, it's a Toyota, like they stripped the actual value of of what they were giving you, and then they increased the price almost double. So you're paying double for a quarter of what they were actually going to give you. This is crazy to me. So I'm like looking to see if there's a mistake and an error. Am I on the wrong page? Because I knew that just a week ago, this price was half. And what they were offering was like 4 times, 3, 4 times of what they were offering, what you get. But you know what happened? They realized the value. AI works so fast now, whereas a company could be charging way under their price tag for a decade before they realized it. These things are so quick, they are so sharp that they can tell you immediately, and it's the owners that they're speaking to, that the AI enriched software can say it's doing way more than what people expect. And they put the rate where it actually should be. And they put what they were offering, they cut it down. And so that's a direct result of procrastinating by me. And I could call procrastinating. You probably could procrastinate it. I called it, I ended up doing something different. But in business, in the boardroom, it's called procrastinating because if the CFO looks at the books and wants to know why the spend is up and the impact of the company is not moving upward as well with the spending, then they look at you and say, well, what was the deal? Oh, I could have gotten a deal on something that could have ramped up our company, but I interfered with the game plan. And now here I am looking at something that's more and offers less. And so that was on me. And that's what happens when you procrastinate. Now, lo and behold, I thought about it and I said, oh, we had a product just about, I don't know, less than a month ago that was valued at approximately 8,000 bucks. And guess what? Lo and behold, we got to put it to the test, work with several people, and we realized what more needed to be done. It took a little more than we expect, some more elbow grease and more people to take part and more software. So we were like, oh, soon as we put it to the test, someone got a hell of a deal. And now we had to create market price. So it almost doubled because of the impact and what we saw that it was able to do in beta stage. It took off, boom. And I said, oh, this is the process. We submit this, but the opportunity is only going to be in front of you when things are when it's time. So you got to be fast today and just pay close attention. Everything is kind of from the real estate market still to these AI and tech companies that are just boom. The valuations are just going through the roof. And so is the technology that you have to use. So I don't know what business you're in, but my thing is to tell you right now, don't goof off around because the AI gives you data much faster than they used to, at least the kind of data that you need to know that's going to change what you're doing and take it into an entirely different level because it's able to plug in more holes, the holes that are significant. So there are entrepreneurs out here like myself. And today I'm stung because I have to pay the price because if I want to climb up that stairwell and I want to get to that next level, I got to have the key to get into that next door once I climb the steps. And that key is going to open me up to the next level. And with a new level, there's a new devil. Once you get in there, you got to climb more steps and you get there and you plateau. And now you need another key. And that key costs. And every level you go up, it continues to cost. But every level you go up, you're going up another level and it's showing in the way that you're living. Your lifestyle shows it all. The way you are impacting the industry shows all. And with that being said, don't procrastinate, jump into the game, make sure you go in with both feet and don't look back because the game needs you more than you think. And when you're doing the things right, it all starts to pan out. So hopefully that was encouraging and that it really gave you insight to what age we are in right now. But with no further ado, I'm going to jump into a couple of comments that I heard from Dana White. And I thought it would be interesting because in our sport, whether you're the running the gyms or whether you are actually one-on-one in this game with your coaches, with your athletes and you're competing, whether it's in the up and coming, where the nationals are actually going on right now. So we may air some of that tomorrow. So keep it locked. These up and coming tournaments and the current ones going are so powerful to this industry. So we encourage you all to learn how to do this thing right. So here's Dana White speaking about the fight against Ngannou. And this is interesting how the media just encompasses these questions. But the reality is we want you guys to know to be safe. And when you're athletes, it matters how you train them because this is what happens. And don't try to jump too fast over here to boxing and take big fights, because this stuff takes a long time to learn. So you got to get up into the right tutelage and do it right.
See the boxing match last night? Did you talk to Eddie
Dana White
after it?
people.
I did not. I mean, I saw it on social media. Yeah.
What did you make of that finish and the Francis fight?
What do you mean? What did I make?
Yeah,
what did I make of it?
When you saw it, like it was. People are saying it's one of the more violent knockouts in boxing history.
Yeah, I mean, going into the Fury fight, if Fury trained for the fight and didn't show up and, look like he ate Tyson Fury, that's probably the way that fight would have ended too. I mean, listen, the crossover, you know how I feel about crossovers into boxing, and that's how they end, just like that.
That's how they end, just like that. And I'm telling you, the main reason that it didn't happen the first time is because Mike Tyson was in that camp, and for some reason, it was like he did that, what we call that. He took a breath and blew it into Francis Ngannou. And if you watch the documentary, you saw a lot more. You saw a level of connection between those guys, and you could see how Tyson just kind of fused his spirit into him. And when you see that, I understand that, because that's whispering. And it was almost like it was Mike Tyson inside of that ring, as far as calm, patience, and Fury didn't take him serious. That's a fact. You just can't get in there and do that against someone with that kind of experience. But the experience in training camp, because I saw Mike Tyson go in there hands-on, change a lot of things. He changed a lot of things that Ngannou was doing. He changed a lot of things. And if those things were not changed, like the temperament in which Ngannou trains. Now, I was asked before to work with Ngannou by their management team. And I had a decline only because of all the things that I've had on my plate. And I said, I'm not going into gyms these days. And when I was tactician. My focus is where it is. And it's just education now, just solely education. And when I understood, and I did let those guys come into our virtual clinic that we had, and let them hear insights on punching, because we were talking about punch cadence and understanding how not to go in there throwing everything you got. And that was a perfect conversation for those guys to hear. And at that point in time, I don't think they really cared or really thought a lot of it. I think they thought that the way that they were fighting was great. And I was fine with it. But the reality is this. That's the only way that they were able to beat or have a great match with Fury, using that same technique and that system that I showed them. We have all the evidence of everything that I ever talk about. Those guys sitting right on our screen, taking in notes and learning more about what it's all about when you're talking about fighting in high level boxing. And so when you look at what he did this time, he didn't have that whisperer in camp. Tyson's worrying about his fight. He was signing a contract with Jake. He's opened up his new facility, Tyson Boxing. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. But when you see these things transpire in sport, my biggest advice to all of the guys who are working with these athletes is to understand there are layers to boxing and learning it, and you got to know it, or you'll end up like Ngannou did, and we forbid that to happen. But make sure you get the necessary understanding. Don't procrastinate. Just like I'm talking about in the business game, don't procrastinate, because in the age of AI, things really have much more value, like these graphic design companies, and you talking about companies like Chat GPT, man, they could charge you crazy if they wanted to. So, you need to understand that if there's a price that comes with procrastinating now, don't do it. Learn this boxing, Master the science of the ring, the training, the physical development, how many people need to be in your camp, how many styles that you got to learn to offset by knowing how to actually box. And you cannot do that by learning tips. So my advice to anyone who's doing it that way, don't do it that way. You can't beat guys who understand boxing. So special shouts out to one of my other brothers that I, you know, was in the same camp with and really had a very big affinity for. His name was Baby Tyson. And so today's called the future, and he's fighting in a week from a week and a half from now. And I can't wait to see him come back and do this thing. I mean, this kid was ferocious. He retired more boxers before they started than any man. That got to be in the record book. Had well over 200 fights. Had a great father who led him well. And this kid was just the absolute terrorist inside of the boxing ring in a gym full of killers. And he also had a cousin named Chad who was just sweet. I mean, he reminded me of Ezra Charles. Yes, a legend in the sport. And he just could box beautifully and hurt you and just did it in such a swift manner. Kind of looked like Donald Curry, but had that banger like Ezra Charles. And between those two, they used to come into the gym and they just embarked fear on people. I mean, younger guys and older guys knew that if you were getting in there with them, you were gonna get it. You were gonna get it that day. And I told him just in a conversation when he had connected with me to tell me about the fight. I said, you know, boy, it's gonna be an exciting time when you get in that ring. And you know, it's a comeback fight to get back in the game. But I said I extended anything I can do. And like I said, I don't go into the gym and do things, but just for him, I take him into that and go into boxer. And you know, I definitely watch over him for some workouts and just do the thing because you know, this guy, I can't tell you how special he was. And when you are grooming yourself in the sport, if you get all of the people that's necessary, you make it. What happened with Tank is Tank had Adrian Broner intervene, and then Adrian handed him off to Floyd because he would not have had the same outcome. And Adrian knew that. You can see Adrian work. He got Bunny to the title, and Bunny was just towering over all of those other guys. And you know, he was able to get there and lose it. It's just the composure. Floyd has experience. Floyd is a winner, 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 winner. He knows how to get you to win and obtain it. And that's what he got it Tank to do. And if you're doing this, you got to know that there's a method behind this madness. It's just not, hey, we're going to fight this fighter, this fighter, this fighter. No, we got to develop your skill set. We got to put you in against guys that you have to actually box a different kind of way and adapt, because when you get to the top, you fight these guys and they're polished with that same skill set. So you have to be introduced to certain particulars. And that's called moving a fighter. That's why you have matchmakers. And that's how you have someone that's tied to your team that does that for you. It's a strategic progression. And without that, you end up being a great talent with a super gift, but you get derailed because you chose the wrong people in so whatever category you chose them in. And progression is the key. How to move your fighter. That's one of the main reasons that we created this place inside of our company called the Coach's Corner. I don't know if anybody's heard about it, any of you guys, but where the Coach's Corner is if you don't have the right people moving and progressing you need it somewhere to bounce off your ideas of how should it look, what would be the best advice to take to move a fighter through the rankings. And that's what we offer. That's a coaching segment, so you can actually register and take part in one to see if that's a place for you. So you can also register there on masterboxingllc.com website. if that's where you are in your career, you're in the professional rankings or you're transitioning from the amateurs to the pros, and you need to understand how to move your fighter. And we know a lot of amazing management companies that we'd also have the liberty to pair you with so that you can do the interview and learn how to sit down and interview companies like that, because that's what our job is for this sport, is to make sure we put people in the right position and tie them and connect them with the right individuals. And with that being said, hell, we got a great manager on our team who's been through the sport and won titles in the sport and has been cemented in the legacy of boxing, and understands how to move fighters. So even if you don't utilize this individual's team, you'll understand what to look for. So that's the coach's corner, because a lot of people overlook how important that kind of thing is. And we see it all the time. I knew a guy, I talk about him all the time. He was Beast, and he was from Tank's area, and Tank will know him, period. And when he got going, his coach moved him too fast and got in the ring and got smoked. But he wasn't a lesser talent than the guy who he lost to. He just moved him into the ring with that guy too soon, because there are things that you got to have in boxing. So let me know exactly. One thing, I had a young man ask me today, a multitude of questions came in. One guy asked, he's 24 and he wants to start his boxing career, where I look at Jake Paul, and I think Jake Paul's in his mid-20s, and you say, my thing to you, I think his name was Javon on Instagram. And I think what it was is that he asked the question, when you are my age, what is the approach? And the approach is, when you get there, is to know why you're wanting to do it. What is your drive? What is your purpose? Are you just wanting to get in the ring because you just see all of this boxing smoke and all of the lights and cameras? Are you doing it for money? Are you doing it because you were born to do this? You just kept ducking it? Like, what is your why? And when you get down to that why, then you can answer the question yourself. Should you box starting now? Because evidently there are some doubts and it's spontaneous. But is it ever when a lot of fights aren't going on? That's what I noticed. You don't see a lot of people reaching out saying that until you start seeing fights. So I think it's what we call the shiny object syndrome happening to people who really, you just like what it looks like. You just love the glam and the lights. But let me explain something to you, Javon. It's easy to see those bright lights and the stars. But if you were to actually get in a rocket, the fastest equipment that we make on Earth, and get into a rocket to make it to a star, those stars that you see, it would take a decade, right? So are you willing to put in the kind of work that it would take to actually become one of those stars? Because that's what the guys that you're watching had to do. See, what people want to get is they want to smell the food and the food is ready on Sunday morning. They want to eat when they smell it, but you have to prepare the food. Mom has to go to the grocery store, get the greens, get the leaves, the veggies, all of the different spices, all of the different utensils, everything that you're going to need to marinate. The meat has to soak, prepare, be based, all of the good things, or grilled. A lot goes into it. A lot more goes into it than turning on the TV, quick, and being there. So I just want you guys to consider, are you willing to run 3 miles every day for the next 30 days? When you want to ask that question, should you box and should you take the opportunity now and get into it? Do that for 30 days, run, track it on your tracker. And if you can make it for 30 days, a minimal of 6 days a week, then you want to box. But if you ask the question before you start training for it, you're not serious. So there's that. And that's a response. So if anybody got questions, make sure you drop it down in the comment boxes. And if you're on Instagram, make sure you DM it in the messenger, because once we stream into Instagram, it goes away immediately when the stream is over. So if you have questions and you're over on Instagram, you can either do it there in the DMs, or you can go to jabjuice.com and set up an inquiry conversation. So this is the real deal. So here's another snippet of what the Mike Tyson situation is. So Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, of course, are fighting, right? And let's, make that clear. But the reality is Jake Paul is maneuvering the contract so that, one, I think it's 18-ounce gloves. Don't quote me. Two, that Jake Paul's actually going to make the fight incentives to not be knocked out. So every round that Tyson doesn't knock him out, he makes more money. So now I know if this was Mike Tyson in the middle 2000s, 2008, 2007, 2006, he really needed the money, but hopefully he is not encouraged by a little more money. I don't know how much more Jake's paying him per round, but it's like the cards are being stacked for this thing to go to distance and go to the judges' scorecards, which Jake Paul has gladly gotten to choose the judges that will do this fight. Therefore, showing a little bit more business cachet than Mike Tyson, even at his young age. And this is the thing that I explained to the young fighters about knowing this business, because Mike Tyson should be in total control with the experience that he has. But this is what happens when you are the commodity. You are the commodity. The commodity has little to say. He's not the B-side, but he's actually going to operate as the B-side. Now, you just imagine that. And this is the thing. This is what the influencers today have the power to do, because they bring numbers. They have an audience. And if you are working with your amateurs and pros, and they're working on the jab, throwing the jab, they're blocking and working on defense, they're working on footwork, they're working on sparring, they're working on everything but building an audience to show up to see what they can do. They're relying on the other fighters who've already done the hard work, and they're benefiting from it. That's why that fighter, like Jake Paul, is on the main event and making max dollar, and has purchased 7-8 gyms in Puerto Rico, one for Serrano, so she could also spread her impact. And why is she able to spread her impact? Because she's chosen a lane to help the youth, and they're not doing it for money, because Jake is taking care of his people. And Serrano is a stand-up kind of person. But if you don't build your athlete, you think all you got to do is make them good boxers, then you're going to be irrelevant. I could care less about seeing your fighter that I don't really understand why I'm watching them, because you haven't built them up. And now you have the ability to showcase your fighter in many other ways than what they do in the gym. You can just clock in. We're at the gym. And I'm going to give the credit to Jake, because my boy Jake broke it down like this. I'm at the gym. I'm at the restaurant eating. Not at the restaurant eating. I'm at the car wash. When you are an influential figure, it doesn't matter what you're doing in training. I had the same conversation about this with Shane. You don't have to show your skill set. You can just be at the gym, and you can be leaving the gym. You can be walking with your towel over your shoulder and maybe with some music playing. The thing about it is you're giving them a journey. You don't have to show them all of the cards. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I hope you stay encouraged, and just think about it. There's a reason why Jake Paul is thinking smart to to handicap Tyson as many ways as possible, because if not, this is what he up against. Yeah, that's real. Like, I don't care. That's now. Like, this is not 20 years ago. This dude is throwing smoke. And you don't want to get caught up in that. And Jake's not crazy. Those dudes that he knocked out, he knocked them out. When it comes down to what this dude can do now, he just fought a couple of years ago against Roy Jones and carried Roy Jones. Even my son knew that. So yeah, you want to handicap this dude. And they also have on big headgear. And to keep that headgear in the position, it's going to be on Netflix. They got the big headgear on. They're going to be wearing big gloves, and these gloves bigger than the average sparring gloves. So that's what we did. Today, we wanted to get you guys going on the business of boxing. Number one, get your business intact. Do not procrastinate. Number two, make sure if you're going to groom your fighters, make sure that you have a good pendulum swing, meaning to know how to navigate their careers. Number three, don't play boxing. And number four, I will see you next time in the winner's circle. Be blessed at Godspeed. My name is Coach Eric A. Bradley. This is the business of boxing. I'll see you all soon the next time when we get into the same thing in the same bat station. So long and be safe. This is boxing. And our sponsors, Jab Juice Consultants, jabjuice.com. Don't leave home without them. Peace.
So another insanely cool feature that Apple just dropped is actually called Name Drop. How this works is when you tap your iPhone against another iPhone that also has the iOS 17 update, you can instantly swap contact details. So from now on, if you ever want to get someone's contact details, you literally just gotta bang your iPhones together.
Pretty cool. Now that's a juicy jab.
Follow for more.